My brother and sister, so good to be with you right now. You know, this is kind of a side thing for me. My main job is that I'm a charismatic evangelist. What is that? I do events where I focus on the core message of the gospel, that there's a God, that he loves us, that he calls us to a relationship with himself, and then have to make a decision for Jesus. That's the charisma. We'll do that in some other show. One of the biggest obstacles I have, and that I think most people who are in full-time ministry have right now, is that the middle ground is gone. That there's no ability to even start conversations, so that, unless someone's already really open to Christianity, you could bring the best news in history to that person, but their ears are going to be shut. They're going to presume that they've got you figured out, that you're a hateful bigot or whatever, and they're not going to be open to the best news ever coming from you, because they presume that they know who you are already and they're writing you off. It's kind of like if I came to someone with the best news ever or a coherent case to make about how to live the life I'm living, but I'm dressed in a Nazi outfit. You shouldn't listen to me, all right? But there's so many people who presume that as soon as I open my mouth and say Christian, oh, hateful, bigoted, colonialist. No, thanks. The conversation's over. Guys, we need to rebuild that ground, that place where people start to encounter Christians and say, those people aren't jerks. They love me. There's joy in that person's heart. And I'm so stoked by my guest today, one of my best friends ever, and he's a master at doing this, my friend Andrew Whaley. Thanks for being with us. Andrew Whaley, I love you, man.
I love you too, man.
I love you. I say that to all the people who are on my show, but I actually love you.
No, I know. I know you love me, man. I like you pretty well too.
Thanks, buddy.
You're okay.
I love your calling in life.
Yeah.
All right. A lot of people have asked me, like, how do I do what you do? And I think, would that you would ask Whaley how he does what he does.
I have a phone. They could just call me.
They could just
you
call
have
Whaley.
my number.
That's
yeah,
it, man.
You could tell them.
No, because you have a particular calling.
Yeah.
Where you're not just, there's only so much, frankly, space for people to be a charismatic evangelist and start preaching the gospel. And if everybody did that, the kingdom of God would stop growing. Mm-hmm. But especially right now, I'd love to see more and more people get passionate about, let me go out and just meet people, love on them, and just by who I am, to rebrand Catholicism into something that maybe people will be open to. By the way, you can interrupt our conversation anytime. Text your questions to 720-650-0100. So, Whaley.
Stefanick.
Tell us what you do.
Well, I've got a project called Calyx.
I set you up.
You did set me up.
I really set you up big time.
You did set me up. I have a project called Calyx. It's Latin for cup. And we've been functioning as a consulting firm for the most part. We're kind of making the transition into more of an apostolate now. So we design, build, train, and launch hospitality spaces, primarily cafes and other types of places like that, as points of missional engagement between the Catholic Church and the deeply, deeply unchurched, or even full-on pagan.
Okay.
Right, and so and the way that I would describe that is, these are Catholic spaces, but they're not for us. They're for the other. They're a ground that we can face out, where we can build common ground that you were talking about in your intro. Yeah. And so it's like there's the apostolate Alpha. I stole something from them, and I give them credit every time I say it.
It's pretty cool. Look up Alpha.
Yeah.
Look up the search before you look up Alpha. I'm just saying, I'm partial.
Yeah. No, the reason I'm bringing up Alpha is they just have a saying.
But they are great. Yeah.
They have a saying that they want people to belong, believe, and behave in that order. Right? So the implication is you have to build something that people can belong to, that they can feel a part of, that they can be at home in, where a relationship can develop when they don't believe yet, and when that belief hasn't worked itself out into any kind of change in their behavior. So I'm trying to picture someone, whoever your demographic person is, that would never walk into a church. That person you were describing that thinks that you're a Nazi or whatever because you said Christian.
And there's a lot of people. I mean, that's no joke.
Right.
Like,
I'm wanting Catholics to build a space and inhabit that space, that person that thinks that, it feels perfectly at home 5 days a week.
So basically what you're saying is build coffee shops, put religious imagery everywhere, and call it higher ground cafe.
Exactly, yeah. No, for the love of God, no.
No, actually, give me some bad names of coffee shops, and if you have one with one of those names, no
okay,
offense.
look, I always jokingly, Higher Grounds or Sacred Grounds or Holy Grounds is like the one that over half of Christian coffee houses in the history of the church have been called. But,
it's cute. Okay, don't get me wrong.
But
it's cute, especially if you're not even pretending.
And I'm a master of the dad joke and the pun, but stop making puns for your titles. Well, the one that I always joke about that I'm scared to use it because someone's going to use it is Immaculate. It's so cool. It's Immaculate. This is what I get every day. This is my life.
And you can do pickup lines there. I love your scapular brown eyes.
Right. Hey, do you need a light for this Voda candle? You know. You hate the culture of death. I hate the culture of death.
You hate the culture of death too? Wow.
I'm totally against abortion.
No, but there's something. There's no need to look. If you're in a church, I want a sacred imagery everywhere, right?
Right.
But that middle ground where we're meeting people, I think of to have people see God in a mountain. You don't have to carve John 3:16 in the side of the mountain.
Well,
there's something sacred about the mountain, and there's something sacred in its own way about creating spaces where people can meet.
Well, you're creating a space where shared goods can kind of form a ground where you can kind of slowly, over time, organically, earn the right to be heard and build relationship in community. One of our principles, hands down, is that any real evangelization, especially any discipleship, the precursor for that, the normal context for that is to be in relationship, in community with that person. I can remember saying that to you and you saying, okay, great, you might just find my video on YouTube or someplace just randomly, but that's not what it's for. It's for something to be presented inside of a relationship. So that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to, and let me bring this home. So, you build a demographic profile, different like advertisers or whatever. I've got a demographic profile. I give her different names. Let's just call her Susan, or let's call her like Monica, or let's call her, Tammy, right? And she's a 26-year-old female graphic designer. She has disposable income, so she doesn't need your corporal works of mercy. Okay, she considers herself bisexual, though she's never been in a same-sex relationship. But she wants to be a good ally to her brother, and she hasn't been to mass since her parents threw her brother out when he came out. Wow. And she's in the middle of all of her tattoos. She's got a tiny coat hanger to remind her that abortion saved her life when she got knocked up at 14.
So this is not the kind of person I hang out with.
Right. I want Catholics to build a space where she feels at home and loved 5 days a week. So you can't call it Immaculate. You can't cover it with a bunch of pictures of saints. You can't hand out a Scott Hahn book and a rosary with every latte. You can't do that. She'll come once.
I think sometimes we get aggressive in going there prematurely.
Right.
We answer questions that people don't yet have. Like the question, what's wrong with this coat hanger on my arm? She's not asking that yet.
Right.
But we go there prematurely because we don't like that person, frankly. Right. And the Lord says, love your enemies. We don't even love people who are just hanging around, passing by us. And it's easy for us to give into that whole cancel culture thing ourselves.
Right.
You see that person, I got them figured out. I frankly don't want them near my kids. But it is tricky because I don't want to hang out with that person, but we have to. I mean, you have to evangelize unless you find a way to.
More than want to hang out with them. You have to long for them with the longing and the love of Christ. I mean, Christ says, as the Father sent me, so I sent you. Well, how did the Father send the Son? Let's go look. Oh, St. Paul tells us, while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. So we're called not to just hang out with them. We're called to day in, day out, lay down our life for them while they're still who they are.
Amen. Okay, someone texted in a question. What website do you go to find out about what you do?
Calix.org.
How do you spell Calix?
CALIX.org.
Okay.
And you brought the statement up. You'll see 8 principles on my website, and one of them is never answer unasked questions.
That's brilliant.
It's Reinhold Niebuhr, Giussani quoting Reinhold Niebuhr, says that there's nothing
You're
more...
a total nerd, just the fact that you said that just now.
It's
awesome.
He says there's nothing more shocking in this world than an answer to an unasked question. So it's like, well, how do you get the question, right? Well, I mean, that's another... you have to live in a way, in that relationship in a way that longing and that wonder evokes that question. But that can take 6 months to 2 years of just pulling shots. And I mean, we're sitting here at the Augustine Institute. I did this upstairs when we built the shop. There are people here that we literally pulled shots for and just talked about everything from Plato to pop music for 2.5 years to earn the right for a real conversation.
Like in the Old Testament, waiting for Rebecca was 7 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And the people who are lost are the beloved of God. Sometimes that's worth waiting 7 years for. But we don't have the patience that God had with us.
Right, no.
You come to the Lord and it's like, why isn't everybody here? It's like, dude, you weren't there last week.
You know, and I tell you what, one thing is like, I think that the patron saint of coffee house owners, they named the shop over in Boulder.
Drago.
Saint Drogo, right?
Saint Drogo.
And he...
Sorry, wrong show. Not Drago. Drogo.
Yeah, Saint Drogo. And that guy, he's also the patron saint of ugly people, which says a lot. But coffee house owners.
You're a handsome man.
But and so they he was walled up, like in a wall, and they had like a little counter that you would come up to, and people would get direction from him, right? And I think that's why, because when you own a coffee house or you're working as a barista like that, and you're the person that runs the project, you're kind of an anchorite in that way. You're just always
Define
there.
Anchorite.
You're someone who just stays in one place, and people can come to you, and like God, you're always there when they're ready to come.
Wow.
And you're externalizing and you're embodying, you're incarnating that patience in the concept of artisan craft and hospitality. You're just there when they're ready.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to hop to exactly like some projects you've done that express this Catholic ideal of hospitality in tangible ways in a coffee shop. What makes a Catholic coffee shop different? But first, question just popped in. Is it important for the coffee and the food? You don't have to look, buddy. I got you covered.
I'm sorry.
Is it important for the coffee and food to actually be good, or is it only important for it to be a place to hang out?
No, it's just horrible coffee. No, it has to be. Craft is a form of beauty. The true, the good, and the beautiful. These transcendentals.
I think it was good beer that kept a lot of Europe Catholic.
There's a reason why
the monks make good beer.
There's a reason why Burgundy is the best wine on planet Earth.
Yep.
And there's a reason why beer, the great beer traces back to Belgium. It's monks, mostly Cistercian monks and Benedictine monks.
Perfecting a craft.
Just ora et labora, prayer and work. They spending their entire life in prayer, and their work that is a form of prayer is just slowly documenting which clone of Pinot Noir grows best on this hillside with this sandy soil or whatever, this limestone.
Isn't it beautiful that
Taking
people
that seriously?
Yeah, that people who were so otherworldly, like monks, like this is someone who's like, I've turned my back on the world, would devote themselves with such love to finding the perfect mix of hops and yeast and the perfect vine and grapes. Isn't that
it's incarnating beauty.
Paradoxical, yeah?
It's incarnating beauty. It's incarnating these ideas. It's being present. God, the Logos, was perfectly fine sitting at the right hand of the Father in the Trinity from eternity, and he came down and walked around wearing sandals on a dusty road and ate fish on the side of a lake. Why? Because that's worthwhile. It's created. It's good. So we should just embrace that. So yeah, but the way you source, where are you buying your coffee at? Was someone in near slavery to grow that coffee? Where are you getting your food at? Is it local? Were the people paid a just wage? If we compared your sourcing to Catholic social doctrine, does it match up?
Yeah.
Those are all shared goods.
I don't know, man.
That could be, that we're so bad at it that they don't associate it with us. That we could actually do it, and they love that.
We actually were leading the way with that kind of thing.
We used to.
Yeah, and it was a really cool part of our witness.
We just argue about the culture war all the time.
Yep. Instead of just making that middle ground where people might actually like us again. I've often said that friendship is the ordinary forum for evangelization. Yeah. And hearing you talk a minute ago, I was thinking, maybe I stole that line from Whaley.
You did steal that.
I probably did.
You did steal that.
I'm going to go ahead and just reattribute it to you right now, even if I didn't.
No, I know you did. I remember you telling me. I remember telling you that. Well, you know, so I think, and people say, okay, how does this work?
Yeah. And what is a Catholic coffee? Like one of the things that you do with Catholics, you get hired out, you go to a church, a parish, you help build their coffee shop as a meeting space between, as the true narthex, right? This is where the world might interact.
Right. Parishes, campus ministries,
what's it look
academic
like
institutions.
From the door to the counter to behind the counter, what's different?
Okay,
if not across behind you.
Okay, so
at
before
the counter,
that,
and an immaculate latte.
I'd say, quite frankly, I have been trying for 10 years to get people to build shops apart from that context. But everyone wants to build it at the property they own.
Yeah.
Right, but I would love to see you buy the old hardware store across the street from the shop, brand it something that doesn't scream that we're trying to get you to make you think like us.
But there's some that actually, like you worked in a place in Santa Cruz that is on the church grounds.
Yeah.
And I got to brag on something cool that you did there. The surfers come in, right, and you planted a bunch of succulents and put hangers above the succulents.
No, we didn't do that. That was an idea. We talked about doing that.
Okay.
That may happen at some point.
It's got to happen, dude.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
We wanted to do outdoor showers and stuff.
Yeah, to hang the surfers' gear over the succulents so that they can water the plants.
So Shrine Coffee,
Shrine Coffee.
And I'm not going to take major credit for Shrine Coffee because it was a really amazing partnership with Fuse Architecture and with Zach Meskey Construction.
That's fine, but I'm giving you credit, and so they consume it.
And we created a beautiful space right across the street from Steamers Lane at the Shrine of St. Joseph, and we put in, here's a big fat, beautiful fireplace. Why? They've just been surfing in cold water with sharks. What looks like love to them? A coffee and a place to get warm, right? Look at Wyoming Catholic, right? Crux Coffee.
Yeah,
we built a shop up there. Now that I've heard they took this down. I haven't been back, but I went up there. Here's a graduate. Here's a school, a Catholic great book school with an outdoor leadership program. So they backpack, hike, climb, all this stuff is part of their curriculum. They're across the street from the world headquarters of National Outdoor Leadership School, Knowles. So there's these kids that are 15 to 25 coming there bored to tears, taking these MEG classes and acclimating, and this shop space was across the street. I went up and I looked down across the street from one of those dorm rooms, and you could see into the shop through a plate glass window. There's a big blue wall that was just formed out of the side of the kitchen. I looked at Rick that was walking me around. I said, "Hey, can we build a climbing wall? Can we build a technical climbing wall like they do in a gear shop?" Yeah, we could. So we did. So we put a climbing wall in the coffee house. Why? Because the people across the street, and this is a town with a measurable percentage of the people are professional climbers. It's a shared good.
That's going to draw them in.
Right. They're going to go, "Oh my gosh, is that a climbing wall in a coffee house?
Yeah.
Dude, let's go." And then they're going to find out, wait, there's a college I could go to that has this thing that I'm paying for as part of the curriculum. Hey, Mom, can I go to Catholic school? What got into you? I mean, it's like, it's an incarnating icon of the shared good between the Catholic vision of reality as incarnated in that place with the people we're trying to reach.
And it knocks down all those the barriers, all the fake images that they have of us. Frankly, I mean, you don't even have to say anything. If they just find out that this is connected somehow with that Catholic college, that this is connected somehow loosely with that church across the street.
Yeah.
And this is the best coffee I've ever had. And these people care about me being warm when I come in, or these people want to engage me on the climbing wall. They just find that out suddenly. Well, then, dang, it makes my job easy. I show up to preach the gospel, and then people are actually open to listening and not thinking he's a Nazi and a crazy, with crazy ideas.
I mean, I remember we opened. My project designed, built, and launched the shop inside the building that we're in, right? And I remember there were people coming in right when we opened, and they were like looking at us like the lights were on no one's home. Like, if you'd asked them, "What's a Catholic?" they would have said, "A closed-minded, patriarchal jerk that wants me barefoot and pregnant, chained to a stove, and answering to whatever my husband says or whatever." And then 2.5 years later, they're like, "Hey, so what's a Catholic?" They're going to go, "Well, really beautiful, mindful people that would put a nice shop with a fireplace in the middle of a bland office park, and that always have something interesting to say when they come in, and they make beautiful coffee." Now, that's not them all the way to, "Oh, well, the second person, the Logos, is the second person of Trinity, and he was incarnate in the person of Jesus Christ, and the divine person." It's not that.
Believe, behave. But before
belong,
that's
a long way. They don't think we're jerks anymore.
Before belong is present ourselves as people that you might want to belong with.
Right.
And it's a great question that came in. What are some practical ways to treat someone like a person and not like a project when starting evangelization?
Oh, man.
And I think this is probably because you've done training with people when you set up these coffee shops. Well, how are you supposed to, what's a Catholic barista look like?
Right.
So tell me.
Number one would be empathy. You're other-centric. You're other-focused. Who is this person? Where are they at in their life? What's going on with them? What do they need? We're called to lay down our life. As I said a while ago, we're lay our lives down for people. But love is a gift of self, right? But how can I give myself in a way that they will understand it as that? How will they let me love them in a way that doesn't look like I'm asserting some kind of ideology? And a lot of it is just living in that empathy that it anchors that relationship. There's like the psychologist, there's a Christian psychologist named Kurt Thompson, I think his name is. And he's one of my favorite lines. He says, we come into the world looking for someone who's looking for us.
We come into the world,
like babies are literally scanning, looking for eyes. And we're like that. When you walk in,
that's the Christian
you're
life.
looking for someone who's looking for you. So when you meet them with that outward-facing expectation, that empathy, that love, that longing, and the thing about the key to that question about how to treat someone not as a project is to love them with the love of Christ, to long for them, not as a potential conversion, not as this or that, not another notch on your spiritual belt, but an actual person. I mean, think about it. Christ knows if someone's going to hell, and he never stops. He never stops wanting to be with them and longing for them. So clearly, they're not just, even with Christ, it's not just nothing but a potential conversion. He really loves us.
Isn't that amazing?
And he really wants to be with us. When we are really called to be his body, do that. It's not that hard.
It starts with that longing. I mean, and I feel challenged by those words. So thanks for saying them.
Yeah.
And I'm remembering one of my dear friends who became a Catholic, and I got to be his godfather, and he was baptized, the whole deal. But I was going through the process of checking out the church called RCIA, which I recommend if you're not Catholic and you're interested, look up RCIA. I think it's called OCIA now.
They changed the name of it,
but he went through this entire process, and then at the end he's like, nah. And then it goes through the second year, and he's nearing the second year, nearing Easter Vigil, where he's going to get baptized, and he still wasn't sure. I'm like, look, I just want you to know, I'd love you to be Catholic because I'm your friend.
Right.
I'm not your friend so that you'll become Catholic.
Right.
And there's a critical difference there.
There's a huge difference.
Yeah.
I'm not waiting for an excuse to write you off and move on because you're not playing along with my project.
Right.
Right.
One objectifies the person, really.
Right. No, it does. It literally,
in the name of Christ,
it literally turns them into something other than a person. And that's not what we want.
Or at worst, we become part of the whole cancel culture we complain about, which is real, right? It's real and it's oppressive. And yet, like, where does it come from? Well, I look inside myself, man.
We do it.
I'll never forget one time hearing the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski.
Yeah.
Got confession before he died.
Wow.
And when I heard that, I was angry.
Really?
I'm going to mass. I'm like, oh, he got in. And
well,
and I just felt the Lord say, Chris, I was working Ted's whole life to get him. Rejoice with me,
man. That's something to take to the prayer closet. And
right. Yeah.
Look, I think that you ask what makes this a Catholic space. If there's not crosses on the wall, we're not handing out Scott Hahn books. I mean, It's not called a Immaculate. What makes this a Catholic space? And there's a process at the center of this that goes down to this same thing about it being a person, and that is one of my principles is to live with an awakened desire. And it's the precursor to how you get to that question where you can answer an asked question, right? And I steal all my good stuff from other people, but I attribute it. You just steal it from me, then you don't attribute it to me until I come on your show.
I just forget, dude. That's the problem.
That's true. So in the first, there's a book called Disarming Beauty by a man named Father Julian Caron. And Caron was the
Julian Caron.
Julian Caron.
You did that real. That was real the way you did that.
I liked it. Yeah. He was the person that replaced Monsignor Luigi Giussani in the movement Communion and Liberation. He's now been replaced by someone else now. But there's a book called Disarming Beauty. In chapter 1, he super like simplify Fisher Price it, big picture, big pieces, bright colors. It's like He goes, look, you meet someone that has insufficient or incomplete answers. They're wrong, right?
Yeah.
They're a materialist,
Yeah.
right? I think there's nothing but atoms in the space in between them,
Yeah.
right?
Which is so empty, it's crazy.
We as Catholics, we meet someone with insufficient or incomplete answers and we go, oh, that guy needs some information. Can we get him some information? Does anybody have any information for this guy? And like the bar in the movie Blues Brothers, the Western bar that had both kinds of music, country and Western, we have both kinds of information, catechesis and apologetics.
Yeah.
And so we're like, can we get some catechesis apologetics for this person to get him right? And then Caron says, no, that's not what the problem is. He says that, he goes, they have insufficient or incomplete answers because they're asking insufficient or incomplete questions of reality. He says reality is the kind of thing that gives itself freely when it's questioned correctly and in the right way. And then it's like, well, okay, well, how do we get that? How do you why is he doing that? Why is he asking these incomplete questions? Caron says, because his desire's not been awakened. So then it's like the obvious question is, well, how do you get your desire awakened? He says the same thing that Plato says about the good. You got to get around someone whose desire's been awakened.
When you see people who are alive in Christ, you want it. Now, there are some people who are cerebral by nature.
Right.
And I don't want to be dismissive of that. Some people, you give them the big answers, they're going to be like, I'm in. I get it.
Most people will not think their way into the church.
No, I think most do not.
Relationship.
My own experience. I saw the beauty of Catholics and the joy in their faces, and I realized I'm completely dead inside. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know I was dead inside. I want what they have. And there's that's powerful, man.
I just want these people come in and they're like, I mean, we saw this here. It's like I don't know, I feel different in this space.
Yeah.
I feel different around these people. These people ask me questions and listen in a way that's different than
someone who must know you texted in, what is the perfect recipe for a pumpkin spice latte?
The Bible says we shouldn't even speak of the things that are done in darkness.
It's an abomination unto the Whaley. Honestly, dude, when I got you a job at the AI a little bit, right?
You were part of those solutions.
I was part of bringing you out to Colorado for a while, and I said, I know your guy because I remember having Guinness in Ireland, and it's not the same here, not even close to it. I'm like, Whaley and coffee, that's like Guinness in Ireland.
You said this to Moynihan.
What's your favorite kind of coffee? Just curious.
It's like asking which one's your favorite kid. You might have one, but you're not supposed to say. I mean, I tend to go
anywhere in the world right now. Any coffee in the world right now, you could have it. What is it?
Oh man, I don't know.
Probably a nice geisha.
I mean, it might be a geisha. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's possible. I mean, my desert island coffee, like if I was like, it would probably be Ethiopian natural of some kind because it can kind of do so much. Maybe Guatemalan natural. I think I like natural coffees.
Okay.
Natural processed coffees because they can kind of go everywhere from real clean and elegant to real fruit forward and kind of maybe funky even. They can do a lot.
You like blew my mind and introduced me to so many types of coffee I'd never had before. Like just because I always thought you had to flavor it, squish some, put some pumps of sugar in there. And it's like no, you're doing it all wrong, man.
Oh.
Have some actual coffee.
And then he wept because they were like sheep without a shepherd.
That's right, man. I want people to see Catholics and think, man, that the best coffee in the world, I associate that with Catholicism. That warm fire, I associate that with my faith. I mean, this is how we open the door. It's that patience. And that starts with the Father's longing. I think a way I'm challenged talking to you is, I think of St. John de Brebeuf, who gave up his life serving the Huron people. And he died, he was tortured horribly with them as their brother. But he prayed, Lord, let me feel the love that you felt for your people from the cross for these people. Let me feel in my body the pain that you felt on the cross for these people. I'm not ready for the second part of that prayer because I'm not nearly holy enough. But that first part of that prayer, like, Lord, let me feel the love that you feel for the person that I think I'm not sure I even want you to come into our church. Right? Let me feel that love.
Look at what happened. The Iroquois are coming in. The Huron are trying to get him to leave. Right?
Get out.
And
you can get out.
And he's like, no. So then they kill them, torture them, literally cannibalize them and stuff like while they're alive.
Yep.
But they associated bravery with truth. And after they killed them all, they went, man, did you see how brave those guys were when we killed them? They were probably telling the truth. If they said more, we should listen to them. That's how we got St. Kateri Tekakwitha.
7 years after John de Brebeuf's death, St. Kateri was born.
Right, because they just died singing.
Lily of the Mohawks. Yeah.
Right, and so that's it's in some ways that's easier, just to go out and do that big giant martyrdom. It's kind of,
it just lasts a minute.
But that day in and day out, serving someone, washing their feet by just with the normal moves of hospitality and craft, just being present, listening, actually embodying that real empathy. And you can't fake it. You actually have to give a dang. You actually have to care. You actually have to long for them. So ultimately, it comes back to you. It comes back to you. If you're not getting that question, if you got someone that's been in daily community with you for 2-3 years and you're not getting the question, maybe you're not living with an awakened desire. Maybe you need your desire awakened. Maybe you're asserting an ideology and you're just waiting for the chance to go, oh, it says in Romans 10, 5, 9, and 10, if you believe in your heart, you're just looking for the way to hit it. And you're not really longing for, you're not really wanting to be with them.
Dude, so this episode was sponsored by St. John de Brebeuf, right? I mean, a perfect analogy. You love on these people, pour your life out for them, then maybe 7 years later, the saint will be born in the tribe that has written you off, hates you, and wants to kill you. But yeah, it was almost simpler in the 1600s, more painful.
Yeah.
Required more courage. But this route, the white martyrdom they call it, right? Requires more love. It's not a bloody martyrdom.
You're just earning the right to be heard with one interaction at a time. You're
one immaculate at a time.
Oh gosh, someone's going to use that. Don't use that. Don't. That is an example of what not to do. Stop doing that.
I love you, man.
I love you too.
It's great to be with you. Great to hang with you. Calix.org.
Calix.org. CALIX.org. That is literally my personal cell phone and my personal email on the page. I want to help.
There's about 20,000 people watching this every week. Actually, I just found this out. I literally thought, there's like 20 people watching our show, including my mom and dad. Hi, Mom and Dad. But then they told me last week.
I love your mom and dad.
Me too. They told me last week it was like 20 to 30,000 people watching. So,
and Lizzie, you're like my fourth favorite Stefanick.
Thanks, buddy. So I want all 20,000 of you to go to the website and text him personally. I just want to watch what happens to your phone. Like I've never, just text him personally. Like, dude, great job on the show, and let's see what happens. I love you guys. Great to be with you. Great to be with you, bro.
All right, man. Thanks.
Go change the world for Jesus, one latte at a time. Amen. Man, wasn't that great? Listen, if you don't want to be happy, be sure not to subscribe. But if you want a more joyful life, the kind of life that God created you for, the kind of life Jesus promised when He said, "I came to give you life to the full," then make sure you hit subscribe and share this channel with everybody you know.